Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and in this video, I am going to show you the team that I use on my personal main account for every single affinity for my clearing in the Iron Twins Fortress that I'm able to use on all 4 stage 15s of the different affinities. I'll show you the team I use, why I use it, the stats involved, the gearing process, and all of that. So let's get into it. Alrighty, now first of all, out the gate, you can see that I am an endgame player. I've been playing for 3.5 years. I have got champions like Mithrawa and Duchess and Krisk. These are very, very good champions. Obviously, some of you out there are not going to have these champions, and you're going to be saying, I can't build this team. What is going on? What is with this video? And that's perfectly normal. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to talk about different budget options and different teams that you can use in future content. We'll rank all the champions in the Iron Twins. We'll get it up on the website, and I'll keep you in the loop here on the channel. But I also want to show you the team that I'm personally using on my account, just so you can see maybe, you know, someday in the future, you're an endgame player, or if you are already an endgame player and you do have these champions, you can see what I'm using and compare it to what you're doing. And let me know down in the comments if you would change anything, how it compares to the teams that you are using and all that, so we can all learn from each other. But yeah, you can see here that I've got Mithrawa as the leader. Obviously, we need a lot of accuracy to get after the Iron Twins. You want to be around 500 or so to make sure you're landing your debuffs pretty consistently, and you can get a lot of RNG based on those debuffs landing, like the Geomancer's HP burn, for example. So Mithrawa, obviously amazing, all the toughness that she brings, and obviously the aura that's going to really help you hit the accuracy threshold. Then you've got Duchess. Now, you don't have to have Duchess. I have replaced the Duchess with other champions, even epics, and been perfectly fine, and the runs go perfectly according to plan. So that slot does not have to be Duchess. I just put it in there to make sure that it's like 100% win rate instead of 99, because obviously we don't have to explain to you why Duchess is so incredible. But if I did not have her, I would still be doing the exact same thing. I would be farming stage 15, and I did have teams that were successful without her in there. Krisk. So Krisk is amazing because, you know, when he gets hit, like right there, you can place the attack down and the defense down, and you could extend the duration of the buffs and stuff on your team. Again, similar to Duchess, Krisk would be one of the top 10 champions in the game for general utility, so I don't really need to explain why he is amazing. Then we get to the last 2 spots, Geomancer and Helicath. So Geomancer is going to be your damage. You'll see here in a second when the stage finishes, the insane damage that Geomancer cranks out because of his reflect mechanic, as long as he's got the HP burns going down at the right time on the boss and stuff like that. And then you've got Helicath to give you a chance to catch up. You've got the block damage and stuff that Helicath is going to provide. So that is the rotation of the team and why it kind of synergizes and why it does well. And I would say that most of my runs are anywhere between 230 and 330. So this would have been a little bit towards the back end of the run. You can see my best time is 245, and then this run was 322. Mostly all of the runs are between 245 and 330 on all of the different difficulties. So we just allow this to kind of run on auto, and as long as it's a realistic time, I'm perfectly okay with it. And I was able to put this team together without really having to change a whole ton of gear. I was mainly just having to make sure I bumped up the accuracies a little bit to go after stage 15, because like I said, you want to get around the 500 accuracy threshold, and you can see all the stats down there on the bottom right. We've got Mithrawa at 525, Krisk at 452, Geomancer at 482, and then when I get the Mithrawa accuracy buff, I have got them all above 500. And if I pop down the RSL helper there for a little bit, you can see how insane a Geomancer is in this comp for doing damage at 3.3 million, and the second best is nowhere even close. You've got Helicath at 750. So obviously Geomancer is going to be the DPS carry, and like I said, you can get a little bit of RNG on the duration of the run based on his HP landing and when it lands compared to everything else, etc. And I can show you the stats and masteries I'm using on these different champions if you would like to take a look in case you're ever building something like this. So it's going to be the masteries on my Geomancer. Going with the Eagle Eye, I want to get to that 500 accuracy as best I can. And then we're going for damage mitigation besides that. So what I'm doing is I'm just making sure I've got a decent amount of toughness on him, enough to survive the content that we're clearing, and getting close to that 500 accuracy number if possible. Elgato, he does actually scale his damage with defense, so you definitely want to stack that on him. And then you don't really need a whole lot of accuracy on him as long as you've got somebody there to bring the defense down in the weekend. I don't really need it in the team that I'm using. It's not a massive source of my damage, but it is nice to get him with enough accuracy to land the A1 weekend. But it's really the only thing he's going to need accuracy for, so it's not a massive priority on him. And if you want to see these stats right there on my Helbekath, and then the masteries that I went with, and I can move myself out of the way just like that. Then Mithrala is similar in that she scales her damage with defense, but you don't really have to worry because she's not really going to be cranking out a bunch of deeps or be some crazy nuker or something. But this is going to be the stats on my Mithrala, just a bunch of toughness and then a lot of accuracy. I didn't end up needing the Eagle Eye on her to get that 500 accuracy threshold I was kind of going for. But keep in mind when you're doing the masteries, you may want to think about taking Eagle Eye if it's tough for you to get enough accuracy on her. But that's the mastery that I'm using on Mithrala. And starting to see a theme here, you can see that Krisk also scales his damage with defense, but again, doesn't really have to be built as a nuker. And if you want to see the total stats that we've got on Krisk, right there. And then this is going to be the masteries right there. Now, Krisk, you kind of want going at the back of your rotation because what he's going to do is he's going to increase the duration of all buffs by 1 turn right there on his A2. So you would want him to go after some of your buffers. That way he actually gets value out of the increased buff duration on all allies for the A2 here. And we definitely need a bunch of accuracy on Krisk because we've got to land at the decreased speed and the decreased attack and the defense down as well. So lots of amazing utility coming from Krisk. Obviously, we're going to want to hit that 500 plus accuracy threshold. And I was actually using Godseeker Aniri instead of Duchess for a little bit. I didn't have to use my Duchess. If I would have had to adjust the gear on my Duchess or something, I would have just went with a different champion. I would have used Aniri here. And this was the build that I had on Aniri. The stats, lots of toughness right here, and decent amount of speed, nothing amazing. And then the masteries that I had on Aniri right here. But what I ended up doing was just going with my main Duchess just to make sure that I had plenty of toughness. There's really no reason in risking it. So right here is the main Duchess I've got for the the more resistance type Duchess build, and the stats that I've got on the Duchess right here in case you were curious for seeing those. But yeah, that's the team that I use for clearing the Iron Twins, and I just pop in and use the exact same thing for every Iron Twin stage. I didn't set up any custom AI or anything like that. We just pop into level 15. It is important to do level 15 if you can. Obviously, you want to be doing this every day, probably because getting blessings, at least a 1-star blessing on all the champions you use, can be very impactful. So I do recommend trying to do the Iron Twins every day. It is end game content. It's a lot tougher than things like the potion keep, so don't feel bad if you're struggling. Don't feel bad if it's going to take some time for you to progress in that manner. And I do want to look towards getting more content out there for more budget style teams instead of the more end game team like mine is showing you in a video like this. But yeah, that's what I do. Pop into level 15 with this team. I can show you the stats one last time for the whole team right there on what I am using in the Iron Twins. So yeah, let me know down below what you think, if you would change anything about my team if you were me. I'm always open to hearing feedback down in the comment section, and I do my best to read through and see what you all are saying down there as well. But yeah, remember to subscribe if you enjoy daily Raid Shadow Legends content. I will see you soon in the next video. Thanks for watching. Good luck in the Iron Twins Fortress. Peace.